There's a couple of different problems that can come up when you are creating virtual machines, and we've seen more of them on Windows 11 than I have on other systems. But I want to kind of go over a couple of the error messages that you may see when you're using virtual machines through Oracle VirtualBox and some solutions. So one of the things that happens is when you create, first of all, when you create a virtual machine, what you're really doing is you're creating a little bitty file that really discusses the configuration of that machine. And so the largest thing are the actual images of the operating system that you load in. The biggest there are two things. The bigger one is usually a virtual machine disk file. Now this is a file that basically the VM sees as a hard drive. And then we also have another method of getting files available to install, and that's an ISO. Now, an ISO is a CD format that's bit for bit, just as if it were read from a CD drive, starting from the beginning and finishing up at the end. And so it's sequential, and it's basically a file that can be attached to the virtual machine, and that virtual machine treats that as if it were in a disk drive, and so it would read from the beginning and begin to boot the software up, and it would be prepared to install onto a virtual machine hard drive. Now, certain sites like ArchiveOS or osboxes.org already have the hard disk images installed. Those are not CD drives. Those are actual hard drives, and they're attached to the virtual machine system as if it was a virtual disk image. It acts just like it's a hard drive. Many times those get downloaded and they're compressed. Okay. So the first thing is that if you get that from like OS boxes, you'll probably need to compress it. I mean, sorry, to uncompress it. And so you use a program, 7-zip. Now this is your 64-bit Windows version right here. This is a tiny little program. It's not very big at all. It's not designed to be big, but it will take that initial file and it will open it up and allow you to unzip it to some location. So now that once you've done that and you've actually attached the virtual hard drive to the virtual machine, you may get a series of errors when you try to run it. So I'm going to go through a couple of those and tell you what to do about them. Okay, one error that could come up, and this is taken from a software screen that I'm not installing, but the error message is very similar. And here's the error. It says the Visual C++ redistributable for Visual Studio. In this case, that would be 2019. It's mandatory prerequisite. So you may see a message like this. Okay, the solution to a problem like that is to go to this Microsoft site. And this is what the page looks like. It's the Microsoft Visual C++ redistributable, latest supported downloads. And you generally want to download this one right here. This is the link that includes the 64-bit version of the runtime code. So if you get something about a redistributable runtime for Visual Studio, you got to download this. Now, the way I got to that site, which was learn.microsoft.com, is I typed in Visual Studio C++ redistributable. And this took me to that learn.microsoft.com site. And it looks like this, and yours should too. Okay, and here's the link. Just install that, and your installation for VirtualBox will proceed. Now, another one that could come up once you get your information installed, you get your VirtualBox installed. Maybe you're running an ISO or either or a virtual disk. You start up your virtual machine and you're looking at this kernel panic, not syncing. Kernel panic, not syncing. Right. The solution that we found to this problem is to go into the virtual machine settings, click on System, Processor, and increase it from 1 to 2. That allowed the machine to start properly. That particular hardware that was running needed that dual processor in order to allow this VM to start. Okay, that was that problem. The next problem is the VM begins to boot up. It takes a little while. It looks like everything's going fine. And then all of a sudden we see, oh, snap, something went wrong. Now, about the time that the display manager gets loaded, and specifically we found this on a Debian installation, and it is about the time the display manager was going to start up so that we could get to that login screen, we get, oh, snap, something went wrong. What is likely the culprit there is that if you go into settings and choose display, you don't have enough video memory. The default sometimes when a system is created is 16 megabytes of video RAM. We want to go all the way up to 128. In most cases, we have enough because we're emulating this in RAM. It's not on a video card. We can increase that to 128. Okay, that should resolve. Oh, snap, something went wrong. Okay. Okay, next one. Fatal error, no bootable medium found, and then there's some pop-up that comes up in front of that. Okay. When you see no bootable medium found, that means that you do not have the right either ISO file or hard drive attached properly to your VM. When you're looking at the settings on your machine, all that's going to be under storage. If you have an ISO, you need to put it in where the CD icon is. Once I click that, I can click this button right here, and I'm going to do it on one that's actually powered off right now. So in this particular case, I have a SATA controller added. I have a CD in the drive, but what I want to do is add a hard disk. This is if I downloaded it from OS boxes, and I can click add, and I'm going to get to browse a file, and I'm going to have some files in there. And then I would attach that to the computer, and then I could boot it up. Now, if I had an ISO file, that's my disk. The place to choose the new disk is right here, this little CD icon. And then I can choose it. Now, these are the last few disks that I've created or added. But if I just downloaded an ISO from the internet, I'm gonna have to choose this from the disk file, and then I can start. Okay, so hopefully that got you through all the errors. There's one more thing that we need to do, and that is to install virtual guest additions, and I'm going to show you how to do that in another video. So check out installing VMware or VirtualBox guest additions for more. Hopefully that got you through some errors that you may have run into.